There will be those perhaps who have lost their jobs, maybe even their homes. You're still eating. You're still loved. You may even still have transportation and hope. That's not chaos. What this country has done in these last years is what we foretold you would do. 3 years before that which you call the recession, I told you it would take place. It is published in the Kryon books that some of the largest corporations in this fine country would fall. That one of the largest institutes would fail, called insurance, and it did. It was number one. And these have crashed for a reason, because the old system of banking, insurance, and greed cannot stand up with a new consciousness. And in the process, the fine balance is to take them to that point, not where they will crash, but where they can still sustain the economy in a marginal way, so there isn't chaos, so there is food, and there is caring, and there is health care, while they rebuild. Give yourself another 3 years. Watch it start to improve. The rules are so new that even those that call themselves bankers don't know what to do with their money. Too new. Still demonstrations outside that which you call the exchange, showing disapproval even now with the system of greed. Watch for a balance to occur that is fairer for all. Watch for banking and insurance to start progressing to something that it always should have been, but never could achieve in an old energy of greed. Oh, also watch for some steps backwards and then forwards. For the greedmongers are always there. And they will try things to pull it backwards, to get their way. Only this you'll watch. For the first time, public outcry will create an almost instant reversal every single time they try, and that's a first. In the past, when they wanted to pass those kinds of rules so they would make more and take less from you and more from you as they deemed proper in their own minds, all they had to do was do it. And now they can't, because everyone is watching. And what did we tell you some years ago? There would come a time when everyone can talk to everybody, and there can be then no secrets. This is the key. It is the key for you in your endeavors to hold the light in this country. Will build a new system, slowly, that will then create again the kind of abundance you were used to. The unemployment rate will start going down. And you will recover. And you remember these words and the timing. And perhaps then you can look back and say, it was worth the effort. It was worth the effort. Balance yourselves, light workers, and understand what is going on. It's what you signed up for. It's why you're here. I dare you to celebrate the recession.
Thank you. So the second question is a couple of parts here. What, if any, are the physical symptoms of ascension? And am I not being spiritual if I go to the doctor? And at what point do I seek medical attention?
Fine questions indeed, for they start a discussion that is appropriate and true. Knowledge that should be given to the light workers about these things have to do with the fine line you walk, indeed, in your culture, in your society. Part 1. The question about the symptoms that are physical about ascension is easy. Look for joy. Look for joy. Can you be among the ones who think it's chaotic in your economy and be joyful? If you can, that's a physical sign. Can you be joyful in the presence of chaos? Can you go to work at a company who's been cut to the quick, and you're one of the few who's left doing twice the amount of work at half the pay? And can you be joyful being there? Even though others show up and complain, can you be joyful there? That is a symptom of ascension. It is easy. It is easy. So there are those who are saying, I can't do it. I hear you. I want to take a moment and lay my hand on you. It is not that hard. When you can take the hand of Spirit, it isn't that hard. If you're going to go it alone, it is hard. And that's the difference. I can hear your tears. And that's the difference. And we pause. And I clear my partner's mind. I don't want him to feel what I see. How long is it going to take you to cross this barrier and take the hand of Spirit when it's outstretched the way it is? Invention, science, medicine on this planet has all increased in the delivery of its sophistication by design. Have you ever seen or noticed that invention on the planet happens simultaneously in many places at the same time? This would tell you, would it not, that consciousness is a field, and then when it's right for these things, they are placed upon consciousness, and many humans receive it at the same time. The invention of flight was a race to who could do it first. Almost within days, you won. Invention of the radio, all given at the same time. Even today, disputed who did it first. And so we tell you that which your doctors have, the sophistication that they have, the instruments they have, all God-given. It's a combination of going to those who are medical doctors, and that which you can do yourself. It's a combination. It always has been. It always will be. Always will be. Until that time when your DNA works at 100% and you can heal your body instantly. But at this juncture where you have DNA working at 30%, there is only so much you can do for yourself. You can start a process, and then you can have the doctor measure it. The teacher Sid is walking today differently because of a miraculous operation that he underwent weeks ago. And that is not something he could have done himself, not yet. Even the healer had to take advantage of that which was God-given to the doctors of the planet. And he is alive today, walking today, will live longer today, and be a healer in a place that needs it. Do you understand what I'm saying? In all appropriateness, use the things that your intuition will tell you you need from that which you call the medical profession which is God-given. The knowledge, the instruments, the technology, all appropriate, all for you. It's a combination. There'll be some things that you can do for yourself that used to be that which you'd go to a doctor for. Innate is going to become a sharper instrument. That is to say, it will be able to do things now with you and for you, especially chemical balance in the body that could never be done before without the assistance of drugs. There'll come a time, and not too far, where light workers will be able to only take a fraction of the insulin for diabetes. It'll be almost like a tincture in homeopathy. They'll still be able and must have an injection, but it'll be extremely small compared to what they used to have in the insulin, giving a signal to the body in what to do instead of having the drug do it. This is what you're to look for. Certain kinds of medications that you're taking now, you might experiment in cutting them back very, very slowly and safely, measuring what is taking place, finding that you might not need as much because the innate is starting to work better. DNA is starting to be more improved in the percentage of efficacy. You understand? This is the new energy. Don't do anything foolish, but push the envelope.
The next question concerns the evolution of the human's consciousness and how it is in relationship to the rest of the universe as we evolve.
Incredibly insightful. And given by somebody who already knows the answer, or they could not have constructed the question. One modifies the other. From the beginning, we have told you that this planet is a test of energy. It's not a test of humans. Do you understand the difference? It's a test of energy. In what direction and vibration will the energy of the planet go when measured by those entities called human beings, which are really angels in disguise, walk among that which we call the entities of Gaia? The test of Earth is about the universe. And we have told you this, it is the only planet of free choice, the only one. If you want to know the lineage of how this has worked, a benevolent God creating the universe with intelligent design, there's a plan. And there are planets that are populated even today that used to be the only planets of free choice. One of them, which will become nameless, is your seed. And that is in the Pleiadians. And they were the last one. They passed the torch to you. Approximately 100,000 years ago, the earth began to be seeded. The creation story is well known, has been told over and over by myself, and now the earth sits in that fulcrum of testing. And it will do so for a great amount of time until the vibratory level is high or not, when it is tested finally. Not in your lifetime, not in the next lifetime, not in the next 10 lifetimes will this take place. There is much time left for this planet to be then measured. Let me rewind what you call your time clock. And let us go back almost 200,000 Earth years. And I want to place yourself not here, but on a nameless planet where the Pleiadians are, in the Seven Sisters. And they were on the cusp of graduation. Let me describe a planet that is at peace. Oh, dear ones, they're here. You know they are. there's a benevolent, caring seed of you. And they shine like the sun. They became quantum. They became multidimensional. They found their higher selves. And their planet had a complete and different purpose: to seed yours, to watch over yours, to make sure that the test was accurate and true. Oh, dear ones, I'll tell you something I've never said before. This is a sophisticated group. You need to hear it. It's the Pleiadians who keep the riffraff away from you. And they do a good job, so that the test will be unmolested. I told you once that this planet is hidden. That most of the planets with the kind of life that would sustain that which is like humans have two suns. And there's a reason, because two suns create a far greater chance of life beginning and photosynthesis to take place. You lost one of them. You only have one sun. So those who are looking for life are looking in the wrong place. If you want validation of this, I will tell you this. Your astronomers are looking for planets. Over 1,000 of them have been discovered so far. They've just found one with two suns. It exists, and they're going to find more. And as these things unfold, you will see the prophecies of Kryon. And the words from me are starting to make sense. Now this earth holds a test. Go back with me 200,000 years. On the other planet, in the Seven Sisters, there was indeed a graduation. I cannot explain this to you, for it's not in 3D. But let me tell you this, that when that planet was measured and seen for what it became, the rules of this galaxy changed. Your universe is this galaxy. Other galaxies, different rules. Other galaxies, different physics. There is no one physics for the universe. So think only on your galaxy. That which is in the middle contains energy you have not yet discovered. You have no idea what it is or why it is. It is a multi-dimensional energy that defies all physics ever known. It's far grander than a black hole. It's part of the plan. It provides communication. There's even spirituality there. The universe, made of these galaxies, all have tests going on. In this galaxy of yours, you are the only planet of free choice. 200,000 years ago, this galaxy changed phenomenally. The rules changed because of the Pleiadians. You're the next step. Now, here's what you should know. The alignment that you're in, the 36 years you're in, all of these things coming to a fulcrum, to the midpoint of the solstice, is the grandest thing we have ever expected and seen from you. Over and over, you have failed to cross the bridge until now. And you can find many prophecies that said you wouldn't. That's how common it is. You'll find more prophecies that said you wouldn't cross this bridge than those who said you would. And you're sitting right in the middle of the bridge and crossing it. I speak perhaps in terms that are metaphoric, so let's clear it. My partner is saying, say it again, clearer. This planet is headed for the same place the Pleiadian planet made it. And this is the 5th try. And it's working. And you have free choice to do anything you want with it. But when the Soviet Union fell over, and when the other things that you see started to fail, that used to then promote that dark energy, including what you call the Illuminati, they're not here. Oh, they're lurking, but they're not controlling anymore. The internet would never have happened had you not had this enlightened place to put it, where everyone could talk to everyone, enhancing and accelerating this light of yours. Yes, the Pleiadians had the internet. How can I be clearer? You can take this anywhere you want to, but the ball is rolling. The relationship between you, your ascension, what you do here, the crystalline grid, affects this galaxy right in the middle and changes the rules. And right now I'm telling you, you look to be just like those who seeded you. Congratulations. And remember, it's not over. You can do anything you want with this. You can pull it backwards, or you can keep it going. Light worker, that's why you're waking up.
Kryon, you've spoken about the new earth. Can you tell us if that's been changing, and where exactly is it?
Question was just answered. You're sitting upon it. The new earth is the description of a planet that no longer has energy which will take you to war. The new earth is a description of a planet who is ripe and ready for human beings to live a great deal longer than they live. Doing it on their own through chemical balance, through DNA enhancement, through medical science, through supplements, through discovery. The new earth is an earth that looks so different from the one of 100 years ago that a visitor coming back 100 years later and arrives today will say, "What happened here?" You sit upon it. You're part of it. And the promise is great.
Kryon, you've written books and spoken a lot about our indigo children. How can we, as parents, and even those of us who are not parents, support children with ADD and ADHD diagnoses, and how can we honor them in the public school system that we have now?
Let us be clear that Spirit did not identify them as indigo. A human did. For Spirit, these children are simply children of new consciousness. Now, my partner made a point earlier to say that there is no such thing as generalization of consciousness. And just as it is true that every single one of you is remarkably different from your lives, from what you believe, to the path you're leading, spiritual beliefs, and what you must do. Every child who enters this planet of new consciousness is at different levels of it. The ones who are the highest level, that is to say, the ones who are the most quantum, you have a name for. Autistic. They are savants. They have no linear barriers in their brain. They are ultimate uber conceptuals. And they have an incredibly difficult time with your linearity. The parents in here of an autistic child know that when you speak to them and they look at your voice, if they will even look in your eyes, they can't understand it. You can see their brain struggling to put the words in a row, to place them in their brains in a row. That's how you speak. That's the linearity you have, and they don't. And they struggle to linearize. You're going to discover how to work with the autistics eventually. And it's going to come with you becoming more conceptual and giving them burst information that they can understand. And it may take some technology that you have not seen. You go on down that scale of enlightened conceptual human beings that are being born now, and you have then what I would call the mode, the average. The children are coming in far, far less linear. And so that is to say, they want discipline, they want understanding, and they want teaching in conceptual ways. They have scoped the energy of the puzzle and have the answers ready before you open the door. They know what they know long before you tell them what they should. In school, they're bored. They're bored. You cannot give them pablum when they see so much more the whole meal. Learn how to teach these children conceptually. Number one, give them the meal first. Give them the payoff right away, and then find out what they want to know about it. It's backwards. You start by giving them the facts leading up to the payoff. If you're going to teach algebra, you have to start with math. You have to start with the principles. You have to start with this and that. Why not start with algebra and ask them what they don't understand? You see the point? Show them what's happened on the earth. Give them a synopsis of human history and ask them what they'd like to know about. There is a new way of teaching afoot. And it's exactly backwards than you think. And the children are going to rise to the occasion, and it will be a challenge. It will be exciting. It will be a puzzle. And you're going to have to work harder at it because each child is going to have a different path. There are schools operating in this way right now. Study them and see them and try to slowly implement these things where they're not being implemented. And now the obvious. Don't wring your hands and wonder what is going to become of these children. Let me tell you what's going to become of these children. They're going to be so disappointed in the way school works, they're going to become teachers and change it. You see? Look at their age. You got a 10-year-old who is struggling, not doing well, bored in school, having trouble, 10 years old. Look at the age. Now, how old is he in a decade? A simple decade. Old enough to be in that study group. Perhaps even to have graduated and be on the cusp of his degree to be a teacher. 10 years, that's all. It's happening sooner than you think. And then another 10, and they will be the principals, the administrators, what you call the bean counters. It will make a difference. It's on its way. So understand what I'm saying. That the consciousness now is not going to stay now. And yes, you may have to have the old energy stay until it retires. And some of you know exactly who I'm talking about. And then the opening comes. And you'll start to slowly see the change. Oh, dear ones at home, if you have these children, this is so difficult of a concept to understand. They know about your relationship at home more than you do. They know the energies, the difficulties, the puzzles. They're not like you used to be. These children have a concept of life. They have a concept of consciousness. My partner tells the story, and I will as well, that in an older energy, when parents fight, the children hide. For it threatens the very survival of their hearts. Worst thing that the children could ever see would be trouble in the family. And you know the hurt that's there and the fear in their eyes as you find them in the closet later after the yelling match is over. That is not the conceptual child. For the conceptual child will see what is happening, stand his ground, and offer suggestions. Conceptual puzzle solvers. What happens when a human being sees concepts? I will tell you, they are very fast to see the answers. A linear human has to walk through the linearity of the puzzle, piece by piece by piece. And by the time he gets to the last piece, he's forgotten the first. And the concept may never appear. And that explains politics. That's a Kryon joke. The children of new consciousness are also going to be your congresspeople. And you're going to see conceptual solutions to problems that have been hanging on the shelf, unsolvable for decades. But when the conceptuals arrive, they'll see it as a group. Bam. Problem solution. They work together. You'll still have a party system. You'll still have disagreements, all of the things you have now. But you'll have concepts you've never seen. And there'll be some of you who will slap your heads and say, why didn't we think of that before? And the reason is because you're looking at a different kind of thinking. It's more enlightened. Oh, not all of the children are enlightened, but most of them are conceptual. They have the same opportunities you do to find that which is their higher selves. They're not born spiritual any more than you are, but they're born conceptual. So that's what you can do. And the final one is this. For the teachers in this group or listening to this channel, for the teachers, you've got to look into their eyes and treat them like your brother and your sister. You can't look at them and understand and figure out how old they are, what they might know or not know. You got to look at them like a peer and explain the issue like a peer and ask them what they would do and what they need. Instead of a situation where they sit in front of you and you're the adult and they're not, and they're just going to do what they're told. That's not going to work. They know better. They pick it up right away. They will dishonor you if you do not honor them. And some of the parents have already figured that out.
This question is about the consciousness of Gaia and human consciousness. And did that consciousness we call Gaia have a choice in incarnating as Earth instead of human?
An intellectual question. So now I give you the lineage, and you will understand better. You think of Mother Earth as the grandmother. Naturally, in your bias as human beings, mothers give birth, mothers nurture, mothers give instructions. They cook meals, they take care of you, they are the authority. Gaia is not. Gaia laid null and void until the humans started building the crystalline grid. And as the humans built consciousness, they gave life to Gaia. Therefore, Gaia, and the entity that you would call that which is the mother, became Gaia through the efforts of you. That is why Gaia reacts to your consciousness. As my partner was saying earlier today, the scientists have seen it. It is why Gaia reacts to what you do. Gaia is there as a nurturer. Big as it is, it exists to comfort you based upon what you have created, which is called Gaia. Therefore, it is backwards than what you think. I have told you these things before, dear ones. You and I, all of you, stood and watched this planet you call Earth develop from a piece of molten dirt And in that, you and the consciousness of the peace of God's you are, put Gaia together. And as you then became humanity, you put the salt of your energy into the planet. And it then honored you. The portals of the planet are your resting places for the old souls. The cave of creation, which is that place where the Akashic record is located, beautiful for you, created for you. Therefore, it is Gaia who reflects human nature, human consciousness, the energy, and it is Gaia, ultimately, that the measurement is taken to find out how the earth is doing.
Well, this is our last question we have time for. And this question comes from a clarification about what you speak about, this side of the veil or that side of the veil, and the coming and going from one to the other. And will there ever be an evolution that makes that something that consciousness and incarnations don't do, and we all become totally luminous?
Let's ask a Pleiadian. And they're here. When they seeded the earth, you won't find any bodies. You know they stayed, don't you? They had to. And they committed what they would call their soul's lifetime to your planet. But you're not going to find any bodies. Now why would that be? Ask an Aborigine about the ones who had the names which were not pronounceable. Ask the Aborigine about the 7 sisters, and he and she will tell you that they landed there, and they landed there. And they took up residence here, and you couldn't go there. No one could. It was too sacred. And how long ago was that? 30, 40,000 years. And this day, right this minute, they're guarding the same places and saying they're still there. They feel the energy. I'm giving you a roundabout answer to a very good question. The Pleiadians are in graduate status. They no longer incarnate because they don't die. The cold sore, that which is the core of the soul, is connected so strongly because they have quantumized all that they are, that they become the singular soul. Now my partner is saying, stop and start again. And I will. In the cave of creation right now there is crystalline, and that crystalline represents your soul. One soul, many lifetimes. You have to understand this. Like rings in a tree, you have one soul with many lifetimes. Right now your higher self is your best friend, and it has been your higher self every single incarnation. Therefore, if you want to touch the Akash, you better get in touch with the one who's been there every single time. That's you. It's the core. Now imagine a time where you become so integrated that you no longer need death. And instead, you come and go from one side of the veil to the other, just like you'd walk from one room to the other. You can hardly tell whether you're a creature of God or that of a planet. And at that point in time, the planet does not stop. It's hard to imagine such a place where it would seem to be half virtual and half in 3D, but that is what it is. There'll come a time when the actual planet itself of the Pleiadians disappear, and they know it. When they have elided what they have in their in their vernacular, as their Gaia becomes a high enough a consciousness, it will be just like them. Yes, as you come to a place where you are able to touch your higher self, and this spreads to other humanity, and it's not in this generation or the next one or the next one or the next one. We are talking about a lot of years. You know that. And when it takes place, and it could, just like it did there will be no death. There's 2 places on the planet right now that are very, very Pleiadian. You might say they have decided to reside there in their multidimensional states where there is no time, where they wait for you to do something. And now I present it to you. In the mountain called Shasta, they're there. Climb the mountain. You'll see them. Some of them will show themselves. They love you. You're a sister and a brother. The original teachers of Lemuria reside in the island of Kauai. And that is why that island has never been and never will be conquered by a king, by military, or government. It cannot be. For they live there. And they wait. They never died. They've been on this planet as long as the planet sustained enlightenment. 100,000 years. What are they waiting for? I'll tell you what they're waiting for. They're waiting for what you're doing right now. If you pass this 36-year timeline and plant the seeds that we think you're planting, that we see that you're planting very slowly, and sometimes what you think chaotically, you're going to cross that bridge that we said you were going to cross 22 years ago. And I promise you there'll come a day when you're going to meet them. And they're going to say to you, well done, sister. Well done, brother. And then and only then can they go home. And it won't be long past that you'll start to understand what it's like to ascend. Now that's the far future. And it's speculation based upon potential. It's not fortune telling. It's predisposed, not predestined. Big words. So let us finally return to where we started. You're going to have to balance. I told my partner to shut it out, and he did. I told my partner not to feel what I saw, so that he wouldn't come away with anything out of integrity. For it's not up to him to see those in this room who have secrets, or in trouble, or in confusion. But I see it. And I don't want to let this group of precious old souls leave this room without taking the hand that is theirs in the higher self. At least try it. And leave different. It is so available. And so difficult at the same time. For you to believe it, or believe you need it, or for some of you even to want it that bad. Fear of enlightenment is always there. Oh, shaman. Let's talk about the shaman and those in the audience. You got 3 of them, 1 credentialed. I know who's here. Think I don't know who's sitting here. What possessed you to get that namagar? What possessed you to become that which is the shamanic? And I will tell you, because this is what you did before. Only before it didn't turn out real well, if you know what I mean. And so you had to cross that bridge. And that's what you teach. How to get through the fear of enlightenment. Because old souls have made mistakes in the past when they awakened. And those in the villages saw them as different, burned them as witches, whatever. And here you are again. Witch and warlock. Shaman, holy men, holy women. I've said it before. What is the attribute of a holy man in the tribe? Do you remember? You got to live outside the tribe because you're too strange. You are shunned, so you live alone. But you're the first one they come to for help, right? Now does that ring a bell? And here you sit yet again. I want you to cross that bridge. Don't fear it. It's back, but it's back in an energy that is so different. The Pleiadians are in the room. And they're comforting you. In a way, your soul group is their children. Ancestors that are Lemurian in this room. You knew them. You saw their faces. Think of that. Cross the bridge. Don't be afraid. And here's the promise that we give you. In this new energy, you will not be seen as odd, strange, and different. You will be seen as balanced. That's the difference. Isn't it time for this? Let it begin this night in every heart here. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Now, for those who have not heard this before, you will say, well, it's just the man in the chair. Same voice, same man. So what's the deal? Why is this different from a moment ago? And did you notice he didn't prepare? And in an old energy, you would expect it. You expect a man to breathe heavily or face the right direction or do other things that will get him aligned with that which you would call the communication from the other side of the veil. You know, that's what it felt like then, even to us. I know who's here. I know who's listening. There has been a shift of energy on this planet, and it's dramatic. And the old soul, the one who's listening, the old soul is the one who feels it and knows it and discerns it. In an old energy, it was like you were in the other room. Alignment was necessary. And it was totally appropriate for you to align every cell in your body with a spiritual purpose, to oxygenate, perhaps even to spend time meditating before you would see a patient or anyone as a facilitator or channel in front of a group or any of these things. You had to, because the old energy sat on you like a blanket. And then when you were done, it like snapped back. You had to work it. About 6 years ago, I asked my partner if he was ready to go to the next step. I could see the disappointment in his mind because he thought there was no next step. Dear ones, there's always a next step. Humanity is not operating at 100%. And my partner is going to explain some of that this weekend. But you have made it past a marker that is more than significant. More than significant. This year and last year will mark the beginning of time for you. There'll come a place in history, I don't even want to say a time, so removed from this one that will look back on you today and they will see everything in front of 2013 as survival barbarism and everything beyond 2013 as the beginning of spiritual growth for the planet. If you want to take a look at what's happening on the planet right now, politically, you will see that which smacks of old energy on all sides. Kryon is not political. Politics is your karma. It's what you do. It is how you learn as groups. And you can see that it smacks with the old energy. One against the other, punishing each other for one's integrity and one non-integrity. They don't really even have a clue. This is the planet trying to figure out what works in a new energy and what does not. And there's going to be some surprises for both sides. And we have given you this information before. This is a new energy you sit in past 2012. And now here you are in 2014. I asked my partner if he was ready to go to the next level. And he said yes. And he said, what is it? And I said, it is time to integrate God and you. So that you don't just show up for a little while and experience a spiritual attribute and then put it away. So you don't just report to a building, dress up, worship for a while, come home, take off the clothes, and experience something else. It can no longer be that way. You can't prepare to have a different countenance when you meditate. How about that one? That you got to have a walking meditation for life. When you sit down to meditate, you're simply slowing down so you can concentrate on what you already have. And that is a new concept for an energy that will support it. Did you hear that? When you start to do this, dear ones, when you claim the Creator inside, a steering mechanism that comes from another place for your integrity, for your health, for your lifespan, for your cellular structure, and you marry to that, when you do, you're no longer positioning yourself or breathing correctly in order to heal or channel. You simply do it because you're always in that state of mind. It has another name. It's called mastery. And that is the study, is it not, of the day. Is how to claim that majesty at the same time you walk around in common life. When you leave the building after this weekend and you go back to whatever it is you do, whether it's at home or at work, and many of you call it survival, to pay the bills and do this or that, it has no attribute that's different than sitting here. Claim the same kinds of direction you will out there as you do in this place, as you meditate or you listen to the channeling. Present a balanced countenance. Talk to yourselves. Selves, not selves, selves. And in the process of doing this, start to understand something is actually happening. For the cells are listening. This is how you were designed. I would like to tell you something I've not really said before. The DNA of your body has a complement of your higher self as well as your human corporeal self. And they are integrated to the degree that you wish them to be integrated in. That means that as you change your countenance, your belief, your intent, your DNA starts to change with it. That means the percentage of DNA that is actually working will start to build to a higher percentage. That connection that you're missing. My partner will talk about that in the teaching and the lectures today and tomorrow. Your percentage of DNA for the first time in human history is open to increase. It could not before 2012. It could not. You had reached a pinnacle. And by the way, it was frustrating. We've been with you all the time. We've been with you when you said, why can't I do this? Why is not this working? What is wrong here? Why has this shifted? See, I know who's here. Why does it feel different? Have I lost it? That's for one of you. And the answer is no. You are being repositioned for an increase in your efficiency of your DNA, a spiritual handshake that is going to enhance everything you know and everything you do to a new level. Now, don't you think that's going to feel different? And the answer is yes. Honestly, don't you think that's going to feel different? When you are in a place where there is an enhancement in everything you can do, where you don't have to prepare anymore, and where the insights will come faster and quicker, where somebody will make an appointment with you, facilitator, and when they make the appointment, you'll have a full knowledge of what they need. They won't even have to stand in front of you, and some of you already have it. That's different. This is an enhancement. And it's not going to go backwards unless you want it to. Did you hear that? So it's not something that's going to be stepped on by an old energy when you walk out of the healing chamber. I think you understand what I'm saying. I asked my partner, are you ready to go to the next level? And when he said yes, it took him 2 years. Now he doesn't prepare. Not even what you would say psychologically. He simply sits in the chair. Because in the past he used to metaphorically hold out his hand. And we would then take it, and the connection was there. And he would channel, and he would hold our hand metaphorically during the channeling. He didn't age during that time. He doesn't when he sits now. That's our promise to him. His response was, I think I'll stay and channel. It was a handhold. And when I told him to release the hand, it took him 2 years. And he said, what will I have instead? And I said, you're taking the training wheels off of your life. And we'll be with you 24/7. And you'll feel it. Instead of the crutch or the handhold, you'll know we're there. And this is what we are saying new energy on this planet is going to give you. If you're here and you're not a facilitator and you're just interested in spiritual things, there is no difference. For you still have to walk through life and it's difficult. And you still have to do all the things that everyone else has to do. You have to go to work and meet those at work who have no idea who you are or what you represent. In an old energy, dear ones, some of you were like hermits, like my partner. The less you said, the better, right? Get ready for that to change. It has to. Because people are going to come up to you and ask you, what do you have that I don't? They will see you're handling the problems of the planet gracefully, with integrity, and with peace. Without frustration, without sleeplessness, because you have gone to the next step. I think you understand what I'm saying. And the beauty of the news I'm giving you is that this energy is the one you have been waiting for, old soul. It's going to promote you, and it's not going to press against you. You are with the wind for the first time. Later today, my partner is going to give you a presentation on what I will call the fast-track helpers of the planet, which we call the grids. All here in support of what you're doing in ways you have no idea of. The planet supports you in this. We support you. You passed this marker. That is amazing. And now, for the first time, the old souls of this planet will take their power. That is the message, and will be till my partner's last breath. And it's a good one, isn't it? Isn't it? It is. Now, I want you to manifest this. You go and discuss it. Well, that was interesting what Kryon said. No, it's not interesting. It's a mandate for action. I sit in front of old souls, this great land, and I said, let the beauty of God in you match the beauty of the topography here. Let the beauty of God in you be seen by other human beings. Let it take their breath away when they do. That is the mandate. And so it is. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. And the message to follow is exactly what my partner thought it would be. There is a protocol that I work with, if you can even call me and I. And that protocol is with my partner, where he gets the opportunity to enhance a message that he hears for the first time in one place. And he would be hesitant to ever repeat a channeling. Hesitant if he heard it coming again in the way that it had been given before. Because in his mind it always has to be original. And so in order to enhance the instructions for him, we stopped the recorder the first time around. And now we give the message again. And those who have heard the message that are hearing this one will recognize it. The structure is the same. The verbiage, very similar. Dear human beings, you want to singularize everything that is. You have a tendency to take that which you are in your dimensionality and place it upon God. And it's not surprising, and there's no judgment. It's all you have, and your reality is your reality. And therefore, you place upon God that which you know, not that which you don't know. But now it is up to me to give this explanation to you, again, about the human soul, which is not really human at all. Let me state this, that the creative source of the universe always was and always will be. That which you call the creative source, which you have labeled God, or which you have labeled Spirit, is what we are talking about now. And you might say that it is comprised of pieces of all that is. And you'd be right. And even before this universe existed, it was there. It is responsible for all that exists anywhere, including the universes that existed that are before yours and coexistent with yours now, that you know nothing about. This is the creative source. And that particular source that you call God has a soup of energy that is what you would best call a quantum soup. It is beyond your physics. It is beyond quantum physics. It is in a realm all by itself, which is God. It is spectacular and beautiful. And you were there. You were there because you, the very core of you, is part of God. I want you to really get this straight. Can you imagine being here? Literally and able to see any part of your beautiful universe, the very creation itself, to exist in front of a supernova and watch it work and explode, and the light that existed from it, all knowing it was part of natural physics, part of the creating process, the cycles of energy. There would be no harm come to you. You would be able to see and hear everything that is seeable or hearable in any dimension that exists. Your senses would be so grand and so great, you would know of things in great distances, as though they were happening all at once around you, and you would be able to separate anything, no matter where it was, and even hold an image of it. The creative source is that way. Everything that you can imagine, which is God, is bigger than you can imagine. And you were there. We only have the word you. And I'm not talking about the human you. And you know that. You are part of me. I am part of you. This is the hardest thing we will ever teach. We'll continue to teach it. The linear mind doesn't understand it. And that is also on purpose. If you could see who you were, you wouldn't stick around being who you are. It's hidden from you. Some of the teaching in the New Energy is an expansive consciousness where you are seeing more of who you are. And in that expansive consciousness, it's not just about discovery of a new biology or new inventions. It's a realization of the who when it comes to that which is in you. Imbued in every piece, every molecule of DNA, imbued in there is the Creator. It's in a way you cannot itemize, and you cannot count it. And neither can you count souls on the planet because they're not singular. The soup, which is God, becomes your soul. And this is the hard part. And before I'm done today, if you think this is confusing, just wait. Because what I have to reveal is not something that you can cognize easily. And it's not something that you are really ready to understand fully. But I want to tell you, even in your confusion, I want you to see the grandness of what is here. The grand thing is that you are part of the creative source. When the restraints of humanism are lifted from you, dear human being, you are God. And you are not a part of God. You are God. Because the soup of God does not compartmentalize itself and slip into human bodies with names and personalities. And that is what I want to tell you. Number one, the souls that are in you are not singular. They are part of the whole. That's easy to say, but hard to grasp. When you look at another human being and you give them the honoring of greeting the God inside, which you have often said, namaste. You greet the God in them that is the God in you. Did you ever think they're the same soul? No. You have your soul, they have theirs. That's what you think. And it's the best you can do. Because if you combine them together, there are problems with your mind. The mind that is linear and wants your soul to be yours alone will keep you from understanding this message. And what I'm going to tell you is that when you cross the bridge of understanding, you'll understand that it amplifies things. It does not change them and subtract in their magnificence. There is no such thing as a singular soul. It is always connected to the whole. The soup of God is always in a soup. You might call it a collective if you wish. And it does not separate itself. Pieces and parts of it, if you wish to call it that, inhabit the human body and consciousness, and you identify it as your soul. My partner's teaching this year will be about the 9 attributes of the human being, and 3 of those are the soul group. And he talks about the core. And that is what you feel when you get into a deep meditative state. You touch the core, and you think it's you. It isn't. It's everybody. And that's why it is so magnificent. I don't want you to think this is a foreign entity inside you. It is you. But you are God. The only linear thing is that humans live in 3D and never see the connection. And here's what it means. Now, my partner, we're going to be more succinct this time than we were last. And we will not break out into other teachings as we did before. I'm speaking to my partner who sits in the chair about what is coming that might be different than what was given before. I'm going to break some paradigms that you've been taught. The human soul is creator. It does not belong to humans. It is part of creation that is in you. Therefore, there's no such thing as a soul in a learning capacity. Souls don't learn. Humans do. And yet you are told sometimes that they are specific groups of souls. And that some are more, what you'd say, wise than others. My partner uses the word old soul. You're all old. It's just that some of you have been humans longer than others. Old soul doesn't even make sense, because there is no time of a soul. Always was, always will be. part of God. And then that is not a correct label, old soul. But humans will continue to use it because it means something different than what it is. There's no such thing as souls that are in a learning capacity to be better souls, going to some place else where they would be graduate souls. This is all in the purview of the mind of the human being who is attached to human things. Humans learn, humans graduate. Human moves from one level to another. Souls do not, dear one. And so get used to this. What if I told you? Your soul is identical in its magnificence to every soul on this planet. What's the worst human being you could think of? In history, alive now? Worst one has the same soul you do. And what should that tell you about free choice? It tells you that this specific, magnificent piece of God is available at full strength, really, to any human by free choice who wishes to look there. We gave you a channel once before that said what the rules were of spirit was that we cannot intervene with free choice. We can watch you make the mistakes. We can watch you turn your back upon what is inside you that's magnificent. We can watch you develop evil. And we can't do anything. It has to be you. It has to be that which is human that makes the choice. Those who have been humans longer on this planet make better choices because they are aware of the God inside at some level. That's just one attribute that I want to demystify how this works. This one is similar. There is no advancement of souls. You should know this. There is this feeling that human beings have that you start as an animal and graduate to a human. And that somehow the soul goes through certain incarnations where it is a lesser human being or perhaps in an animal in order to graduate to an old soul. Any of these things, you just name them, they're all around. That's what humans do. They make levels of advancement and importance. They place them upon God and even teach them. That diminishes the creative source. Kryon, you mean animals don't have souls? I didn't say that. They have a different kind of what you call soul, and yes, it reincarnates, and we've told you that before, but it never crosses the barrier of animal to human, ever. It's precious and it's sacred what is inside you, human being. It belongs to your DNA and it's part of a plan. It didn't start as an animal. There are those who actually think that the smaller the animal, the lower the soul. You start as a hamster, you become a dolphin someday, and then you're a human. By the way, that's taught in places. I want to tell you, that's not the way of it at all. It just isn't. And so there is no learning, there is no levels of advancement, and there's no hierarchy. Wait a minute, Kryon, what about archangels and lesser angels? We've given that discussion before. It's only in your thinking where you put them and what you name them. That is a human attribute. It is not God. There's no management system or flow charts with God. There is no hierarchy of who is in charge of whom or what with God. It is a system that is known by all. It is beautiful and it is sacred and it is perfect. There are those scientists who've looked out into the universe and they're starting to realize it could not have been made by accident. And they are struggling with this because it is outside of the reality they have of evolution being chance. Well, it isn't. It's designed. And if you want to know why this galaxy was designed the way it is, I will tell you, it's so you could sit on this earth and hear these words. It's all about you. It really is. Everything revolves around the human being on this planet, and the animals know it at some levels. They all know it. Getting you to realize it has been slow. And now that is the task, is it not? To understand that the system supports you. You are not bucking the system. When you go outside and you look at the things you don't think you can control, the things that happen to you, the weather and all the things that you say you're just bounced around from place to place, all of them are invitations for you to change. Perhaps you know humans who have had very unfortunate lives and everything bad has happened to them. At every single juncture, dear human being, that particular human had a grand opportunity to be brought to zero and take the hand of God. And instead of turning their backs, to actually enhance their lives and understand. And they either did or they didn't. And this is the free choice. To some of you, you look at life and say, well, it doesn't make sense to me because it seems cruel, or this or that has happened to them or me. Not understanding, these have all been synchronistic turning point possibilities and potentials. And some will wallow in the grief of them, and some will take the hand of God and move forward. That are decision points we give humanity over and over, and it's not always through grief. Sometimes it's through joy and celebration. Depends upon who you are, where you've been. Old soul, you see, even I will use the word. Your soul is forever. It's unchangeable. It's perfect. It's beautiful. What do you call it? Your higher self. That's a good one. That is the self that vibrates higher than you do. The part of God. But you still want it to have your name, don't you? Did you know that the soul has no personality? There's no attributes of humanism at all in the soul. Oh, if I could really give you the picture. I would love you to see it. The perfection of the universe that you share with every other human being on the planet. Do you know what increased human consciousness really is? It's building the bridge to connectivity. When you start to understand that really you're all the same. My partner has spoken about the evolution of religion on the planet Earth. And the thing that to expect, that we have asked you again to look for, is how religion, organized religion, will shift. The question has arisen, will it survive? And the answer is yes. We have told you before, it doesn't matter how humans find God. It really doesn't matter. And there will be levels of human knowledge because of the levels of human understanding about who God is. Therefore, it's important that all of the processes remain so that the human beings just starting out can go through whatever process they wish to and have their hands held while they do it by a master. So what about organized religion, and how is it going to change? It's going to start seeing connectivity, and this is what we teach. There's going to be an understanding and a revelation, perhaps even a return to the original teachings that they will then look at, which honors all the other belief systems. When the religions of this planet join together and realize they are unique and they are okay to worship the way they wish to, and at the same time acknowledge the others' rights to worship the way they want to, you will see an expansion on this planet of spiritual work and knowledge and understanding and compassion. But as long as they separate into groups that say, we know how to worship the one God better than you know how to worship the one God, you're in trouble. And you knew that, didn't you? Religion is not going to diminish or go away. It's going to get bigger, especially when it is one that is what I will call compassionate to all the others. Isn't it interesting, on your planet, there is a full realization of a monotheistic God, one God. And most of the earth believe even in the afterlife. And yet, you segment yourself into thousands of pieces deciding who is right to worship the one God. That is what will change. It's about connectivity. And what I'm about to give you will challenge your perception of connectivity. We bring up the subject next, and finally, about soul sharing. You're not going to like this, dear ones, because it breaks the paradigm of your traditional thought. We'll start easy. We'll start simple, and then we'll get hard. Soul sharing. Have you heard of a walk-in? All right, let's talk about what it is. What you think it is, what you're taught it is, the problems of logic and singularity that exist. Here is what you're often told. A human being will pass and come back. But in order to come back quickly and move over the growing up period, in order to accomplish things quicker, they will soul share at approximately the age of 8 to 13 with another soul that is grown up already. That's the walk-in. And so now you have two souls, supposedly, in one body. Follow me so far? So now the walk-in has an attribute that you have to ask about, and many have. All right, what happens to the first soul? Does it take a subservient position? If the name is Sally and the second soul comes in, and that was Henry, it's confusing. What does Henry think about it, being in another gender with Sally? Can they exist together? Does one take a back seat? Does one go forward? Does one simply give up and go back? What is the process of this? And human beings that are esoteric wring their hands and have discussions and say, how can this be? And what do we make of it? And we sit by and we look at it and we go, what are you talking about? You have a 3D argument going on, and all of the machinations of your logic puzzles have been created by you. Because Henry and Sally are just fine with it all. You see, what you don't know, and what you haven't figured out, there aren't two souls in that body. There's just one called God. The Henry and the Sally, that's what you made of it. One soul joining another and soul sharing is like God with God. It's you with you. You just got bigger. There will be arguments. Well, what attributes of the Akash belong to Sally? And what attributes of the Akash belong to Henry? What if I told you they combined them? What if I told you things just got bigger with the walk-in? Would that be all right? What if I told you the whole purpose of the walk-in is combined Akash? So that the experiences of many lifetimes, apart from what you think is singular in your past lives, can combine into another human being as one. Now that's confusing. You see, it's bigger than you think. There are no puzzles to figure out with the majesty of God. A walk-in, it's very common, especially with an old soul passing and coming back quickly into one who has already grown. It is a system of benevolence, of understanding, a fast-tracking system that allows things to happen better than they would have otherwise, and taking less times. And by the way, it's often in a family. Now this is going to get worse if you're confused already. The next subject, soulmates. It's not what you think. One person meets another person, and they have a connection. And it doesn't matter. It's outside of romance, although that's there too, to really confuse things. It may be a past life as a brother, sister, mother, dad, but they know the person. They think like the person. They can have conversations and looking in each other's eyes and just being amazed. They must have spent lifetimes together in order to have this similarity of thought and thinking, of ideas, passions. There's an attraction to be with that person. Just stay with that person, because they represent something that is so special, and you call it soulmate. Let me tell you, what if I told you you just met yourself? I told you it gets spooky. What if soul sharing is something where you met a piece of yourself in another human being? And if I told you that, will you walk out of the room and say, this is not for me, this can't be for me? I want to tell you, I want you to use your discernment. If God is not singular, and you are a piece of the whole, and everybody is in you, and you are in everybody else, why is that so spooky? That you would see a piece of yourself in another human being, because that's the way soul sharing works. It's hard to describe, because you want to singularize it. Instead of seeing the glory of God in that person, you're seeing you in them. Because you have been together in one human body in the past. That's what a soulmate is. No wonder you're attracted to them. And they're attracted to you. Soul sharing cannot be explained satisfactorily to any single-digit dimensional human being. And everything that I'm doing now will simply complicate it. Let me tell you the most complicated one. And then I want to give you an example. And after that, we'll close. I have told you that there is a system of reincarnation that honors the family. And that at the very least, the system has one generation skipped for reincarnation within a family. Most of the time, it's 2 generations, but often it's every other generation. And this allows for new souls coming in to learn, and for old souls to be their children and their parents, if you see what I'm saying, and vice versa. It mixes it up, and it's helpful for both. For instance, old soul, your children are probably not, but your grandchildren are. You see where this is going? Skipping every other generation. And you know this is true. For in a generality, we will say, you know your children best, but when your grandchildren came in, you saw something in them that you recognized. Now, I want to make this so clear, and I cannot. This is very, very understandable to you, and it's fine as long as the grandparents are dead. But if they're alive, now there's a problem. Because I've just told you that your grandchildren could be you. What do you think of that? You look in their eyes and you know what's in there, don't you? There's a connection and they're on to you. They know that you're going to give them everything they want. Because they are you and you are them. The peace of God you have shared is not a singular soul with your name on it or their name on it. Pieces of you are in them. And it's not just chemistry. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. To complicate all of this, I'll talk about inheritance that is different between Akashic and chemical. Really, to mix it all up. So who are you? Who are you? Is it possible? The more you get to know each other, the more you see the same God in all of you. The connectivity is what solves the problems of human variety, of you not getting along. There'll come a day, dear ones, if you follow the same progressions of those before you on other planets who have gone through this before, there'll come a time when you acknowledge the similar God in all of you first, and then the personality differences second. This is a secret to peace on earth. Looking at the other one and knowing their desires are the same as yours. That it's compassion, not trickery. It's generosity and not bullying. And you start to look at what creates what it creates in personalities differently and aside from the God inside. You'll see their degree of awakening and help them to do what you've done through what you can show them in your graciousness and in your maturity in how you live. That's the only vehicle of teaching other human beings about God that we have to give you. Let me give you a little story, and then we close. I want to talk about Evelyn, the everlasting tree. You know, parables don't make a lot of sense. Because they are allegories, you have to forgive some of the 3D parts. And so Evelyn doesn't really exist in nature in the same way. But it's a story. And it's close enough to what nature does so that you will understand. Evelyn had an essence about her as a tree. The essence of Gaia was there, and she knew she was Evelyn. She had the consciousness of a grand plant that she was. Her purpose, her sole purpose, was to grow as much as she could and to give oxygen to the planet for humanity. Evelyn put down roots, as trees do as they grow. And she could feel her roots go down. And they would then absorb those things which she needed for her growth. The resources of the dirt of the earth were in her roots. And she grew taller. As she grew taller, her roots then spread out more in order to anchor the size that she was and the majesty she represented in her forest. Now, Evelyn wasn't really aware of all of the roots. There were so many of them over time. But one in particular found its way back to the surface, a great distance from her, many meters, and sprouted. And this sprout then became a tree. And this little sprout started growing just like Evelyn had. And it had a name. Martha. Now here is Evelyn watching Martha grow up. Martha grew from Evelyn's root. Now Martha, over a period of time, put down some roots, and the same thing happened with her. In the same time, Evelyn had other sprouts going on in the other direction. They were Evelyn's roots, sprouting as other trees with other names. You see where I'm going with this? Eventually we have a forest, and all the roots are connected. They're all connected. The life force of the nutrients of the planet are surging through all of them. There is no beginning or end of any root. They're all connected to each other. Now, I want to interview Evelyn. Evelyn, who are you? As you look around the forest, are you Evelyn? Or are you also Martha and George, Sally? Who are you? And Evelyn would have to stand tall and say, I am all of them, and they are all of me. Because our roots are combined together from the same source. I want you to look at that. And I want you to understand that it is the metaphor of who you are. In nature, you look at these kinds of things and you say, how unique. You don't see it as you do yourselves, with individual personalities, lives to live, or you walk around. But it's true. Connectivity and the realization of it and the oneness that is all is going to be the salvation of humanity. But it has to start, literally start, with you understanding that the soul inside you is bigger than anything you ever thought. Now, I told you a moment ago the soul has no personality. Not like you think. But it does have an attribute. It has perfection, love, benevolence. That's what you feel. The hand of the soul, which is God, is always open to you. Always. From the moment you're born, the invitation is to discover who you are, to take that hand and move into a position where you can change the planet. And old soul, you've lived long enough to come to this point and hear this message. Well, you know I'm right. Because this is the time to take that hand. It's got to be with your free choice, with your intent, and with your understanding. That's what I want to do. Don't do anything because you should. Or because you came to a meeting and heard a channel that may have moved you. Now you should do something. Don't do that. I want you to sit by yourself alone in a chair and ask your body, is there more? And it will shiver in response. And the first thing it's going to say is, what took you so long to ask? And it'll say, yes. And that is the beginning of discovery. My partner did that. He did it 23 years ago. He started with himself. He was afraid. What energy is talking through me? How could it do this? Is it the devil? All of the things that linear minds go through tradition and training and misinformation was there. All of it. Until he got to a place of pure emotion where he wept with the understanding that he was more than he thought. And it led him right to the source. That's the invitation, dear one, of every single human being on the planet. If you relax and talk to that which is your innate in your body and let it help guide you to the truth, you'll get it. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to another human being. I want you to start listening to you. Start asking yourselves and yourselves what it is you need to know. And it'll tell you. Is this channeling real or is it not? Use your discretion and your discernment and all the words you want. Discern the energy of the day. My partner steps aside for this and now he comes back in a moment. All this time to give you a message of love coming from that source, which is you. You ought to recognize this voice. Not the human voice, the other one that's been talking to you in the third language all this time. whispering, listen, listen, listen. This is what you came for. It really is. Dear old soul, you are the hope of the planet. Whoever is listening to this and cognizes the truth of it, you'll know this is your time. Get on with it. And so it is.